Hey everybody, Dom Nicastro, Managing Editor of CMSWire here again with new CMSWire contributor Eric Feige. He's a Managing Director of Strategy at VShift. Eric, welcome to the contributor community.
Great, thank you, Dom, for the terrific welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, the contributors are the lifeblood of our website, no doubt. We get dozens upon dozens of them, people in the field, listening to customers, putting out their own digital strategies, and to have your voice added to the community is great. So why don't you tell listeners just a little bit about yourself, since you're new to the CMSWire world?
Yeah, I've been in digital strategy and transformation for many decades. Have been in the seat of a head of digital for companies like Deloitte, KPMG, Prudential, and JP Morgan, as well as working with executive leadership teams, generally non-IT business executives who are driving change within their enterprise, their business, and looking for a faster, better, more effective way of really competing in the marketplace.
Yeah, and that really ties in nicely to your debut column here, talking about composability with digital experience technology. It is all the rage. People want to have experiences and be able to produce customer experience that are flexible, and they don't have these strangleholds of technological infrastructure with IT. You can't be stopped today. You have to put out something 10 minutes ago. Like you can't wait. You can't wait 3 hours for IT to respond. So give our listeners a sense of, why composability might be all the rage today. I mean, there's a lot of organizations that are still using monolith technology and probably having success. So I think you still can have success on each side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's not a zero-sum game. In some industries, yes, but for the vast majority of businesses, you've made investments in some monolithic or transactional systems that do critical functions. So, we try and look at what is the most valued transaction that can be exposed by an API in those monoliths or those transactional systems, so that you can work more effectively at that composability level, get away from the vendor lock-in that you have at the monolith level, and work more at the speed of business, which is really the promise of composability. So we don't see them as mutually exclusive, but rather over time, more and more of the technology base being API based, being much more business oriented, faster speed of market, probably at the expense of monolithic technologies.
Yeah, you talk about vendor lock-in, and that I think is the thing that scares people away from moving away from those vendors, because they have such a stranglehold on the organization and the business of the organization. I mean, for instance, I remember one conversation about our marketing automation platform. Our team said, no, you can't do that. You can't put a comma in there. It's going to destroy the whole company, right? Like you change one little thing. So are you finding that a lot of organizations are scared of that change because of the massive business impact it would have moving from monolith to composable?
Yes, and no. In our piece, and I think this is true. This is where we're kind of looking at this as well beyond platforms. There's a focus on your people, your culture, your processes. Where we see composable businesses is really in VC-backed technology companies, or health tech or fintech companies that are designed to move very, very quickly. Those businesses are fearless. They've got mature cross-functional ways of working, and they embrace, kind of this faster, swappable way of working. It's the large enterprises that we work with in regulated industries that are risk-managed businesses that run into exactly what you said. Oh, that's going to be password protected. Well, that's going to take a year to develop a new digital product. Those tech native businesses can do it in a few days or less than a week, but you have a similar business that says, well, we're critical dependent, and this gets to the people and the culture, on a identity architect or a specialized resource, or somewhere halfway around the world, in an offshore contract that's got, kind of the source code. That's the lock-in. That's the interdependency that many businesses are really fearful because today there's been so much mobility around talent, um, that your technology is swappable. It can move very quickly, but the people and their domain knowledge really is where the risk is.
Yeah. Yeah. And then if they do make that move, you talk about supporting a, decentralized way of working and sort of moving away from someone in the organization owning a piece of technology, because we know we have our owners for every platform.
Yeah,
Don't do this, ask her. Don't do
yeah.
that, ask him. And it causes delays and all that. So you're really pushing in the composability world for a decentralized way of working where you basically have multiple owners.
That's correct. And shared power and authority, which a couple of things there. If you operate technology and technologists only within the IT silo, you're really not embracing the notion or the strategy of composable business, meaning you're taking a more monolithic, we've got to have developers and technologists run the technology. So the example we said, well, if we're going to decouple the front end experience from some of the middle and back end and have marketing or digital marketing run a public website, they probably need some front end developers that can work with the components in the system. Well, so that's sharing what is not only the technology, but really the skill sets. So marketing, IT, sales, HR, compliance, legal, your risk functions all need to come together with governance. Really, governance can be a scary word, but we look at it as when you're working with the composability with these different modular pieces, you have to be able to come together and make decisions quickly and share power and have co-sponsors of certain initiatives. And we probably saw this more in the last 2 years with needing to stand up a crisis center, a COVID response site that required the old ways of doing things, which might have been very resource dependent. Hey, look, we got to go through a procurement cycle, as that's not going to work. We need something up in a matter of days and weeks to respond to the new rules.
Yeah.
Does that help?
It does. Yeah, no, yeah. It kind of helps think through how that decentralized way of working can work. Because when I first read that in your piece, I'm like, geez, I kind of do like someone being the owner and I don't have to worry about it, kind of thing. And again, you said you're going to have those people that can fix things. I mean, you still have to have that technical expertise, but empowering business users to actually own technology and manage it and be able to produce experiences without waiting. That's pretty powerful, I think.
Yeah, and I think again, it's the assumption. Some of the red flags we hear in organizations, if there's an executive that says, well, my business function leads, my executive team members run shadow IT in sales, or they run shadow IT in marketing for the public website or for sales enablement, that's a red flag. That's the red flag that the organization's not coming together in a very transparent, open way, and that there's still a command control versus a decentralized way of working. The other, Dom, just getting back to a red flag, would be within the organization, if you hear the software vendor's name in an organizational function, right? And that happens a lot of, oh, well, we're going to have to talk to the big vendor X team or the big vendor.
Great point.
That means, boy, talk about lock-in. You're interdependent. If you're naming an internal function with your business and you're giving it a software vendor's name, right?
Yeah.
So a couple of red flags to say, look, you're probably not as advanced and ready for composability if you talk about shadow IT functions within businesses. That means you guys aren't really talking. Or if you're naming internal functions after big software vendors that are, where you're obviously spending a lot of money and expense with those big tech giants.
Yeah. Eric, thank you. Let's wrap this up with one piece. And I know, inspiration for columns in today's world just kind of come randomly, right? I mean, you've been walking the dog and like, oh, we should write a whole piece on that. So not to put you on the spot with specifics, but generally, where do you think you're going to take our readers going forward?
Yeah, a couple of levels on what is, let's call it the promise of composable business. faster, more competitive, more innovation, significantly reduced cost. One on the technology is really focused on breaking apart or decoupling the layers, particularly around orchestration, right? I think we're breaking modules up, but having them orchestrated and working well, I think is going to be a big focus from a technology point of view. Second, with orchestration, is a focus on reskilling the organization. When we look at failure rates in digital transformation, composability really represents a new, more effective way of dealing with transformation. And I think what we've learned from historical issues is that you've got to bring the rest of the organization, you've got to give them a new toolkit, they've got to get enrolled. Part of it is working with the Lego blocks and knowing how to recompose them and assemble them to meet business needs. So I think we're going to see a lot in more the advisory consulting and helping develop and prepare an organization for what is the promise of composability. Those are kind of two key thoughts.
Yeah, good. Yeah, we'll be looking forward to those future columns from you, Eric, and I appreciate your time today with this video interview and also the story, of course, debut on CMSWire.com. It's a good one. So thanks again for joining us, Eric. We're looking forward to more content down the road.
Awesome. Take care, Dom.
All right, have a good one.
See you. Okay, bye-bye.